Hi preschool friends, it's Miss Smith here. All this week we've been reading different types of fairy tales, and yesterday we read The Three Billy Goats Gruff, and we learned the word antagonist. Antagonist means the bad guy in the story. Who was the antagonist of The Three Billy Goats Gruff? That's right, it was that mean, ugly old troll. We're going to read another book today, and I have some special friends helping me out, called Red Riding Hood. Let's think throughout the story and see if we can figure out who the antagonist is in this story. Red Riding Hood. The author is James Marshall, and he also drew the pictures, so he's the author and the illustrator. Let's flip to the title page. Red Riding Hood. A long time ago, in a simple cottage, beside the deep dark woods, there lived a pretty child called Red Riding Hood. She was kind and considerate, and everybody loved her. One afternoon, Red Riding Hood's mother called to her. Granny isn't feeling up to snuff, she said, so I've baked her favorite custard as a little surprise. Be a good girl and take it to her. Will you? Red Riding Hood was delighted. She loved going to her granny's, even though it meant crossing into the deep, dark woods. When the custard had cooled, Red Riding Hood's mother wrapped it up and put it in a basket. Now, whatever you do, she said, go straight to Granny's. Do not tarry, do not speak to any strangers. Yes, Mama, said Red Riding Hood. There she goes in the deep dark woods. Before long, she was in the deepest part of the woods. Ooh, she said, this is scary. Suddenly, a large wolf appeared. Good afternoon, my dear, he said. Care to stop for a little chat? Oh, gracious me, said Red Riding Hood. Mama said not to speak to strangers. But the wolf had such charming manners. And where are you going, you sweet thing? He said. I'm on my way to visit Granny, who lives in the pretty yellow house on the other side of the woods, said Red Riding Hood. She's feeling poorly, and I'm taking her a surprise. You don't say. Just then he had a delightful idea. No reason why he can't eat them both, he thought. Allow me to escort you, he said. You never know what might be lurking about. You're too kind, said Red Riding Hood. Do you guys think that she should follow him? Remember, her mother said, do not talk to strangers. And we've learned in some of our past books that wolves can be pretty sneaky. Beyond the forest, they came to a patch of sunflowers. Why not pick a few? Suggested the wolf. Granny loves flowers, you know. But while Red Riding Hood was picking a pretty bouquet, the clever wolf hurried on ahead to Granny's house. When he got to Granny's house, he knocked, of course. Knock, knock, knock. Who is it? Called out Granny. It is I, your delicious, darling granddaughter, said the wolf in a high voice. The door is unlocked. The wolf is pretending to be Red Riding Hood. Surprise, cried the wolf. Granny was furious at having her reading interrupted. Get out of here, you horrid thing, she cried. But the wolf gobbled her right up. He didn't even bother to chew. Tasty, he said, patting his belly. So tasty. Just then, he heard footsteps on the garden path. Here comes dessert. Who's coming? Let's see. In losing no time, he put on Granny's cap and glasses, jumped into bed, and pulled up the covers. And Red Riding Hood knocks, knock, knock, knock. Who is it? He called out in his sweetest granny voice. It is I, your little granddaughter, said Red Riding Hood. The door is unlocked, said the wolf. Red Riding Hood was distressed at seeing her grandmother so changed. Why, Granny, she said, what big eyes you have. The better to see you, my dear, said the wolf. And Granny, what long arms you have. The better to hug you with, my dear, said the wolf. And Granny, what big teeth you have. The better to eat you, my dear, cried the wolf. And he gobbled her right up. I'm so wicked, he said, so wicked. But really, he was enormously pleased with himself, and having enjoyed such a heavy meal, he was soon snoring away. A hunter passing by was alarmed by the frightful racket. That doesn't sound like Granny, he said. And so the brave hunter jumped in the window, killed the sleeping wolf, and cut him open. Out jumped Granny and Red Riding Hood. That wicked wolf won't ever trouble you again, said the hunter. It was so dark in there, I couldn't read a word, said Granny. Red Riding Hood promised never, ever to speak to another stranger, charming manners or not. And she never did. The end. Okay, so now let's think. We know that the antagonist of a story is the bad guy. Who was the antagonist of our story? That's right. It was the wolf. It was the wolf. He ate Granny and he ate Red Riding Hood and he tricked her too. Good thing that hunter was there to save the day. All right, preschool friends, I miss you guys so much. I hope to see you soon. Bye.